I think everybody is expecting the Oilers to go home and force this thing seven. The betting odds, which we'll talk about in a second, would suggest that. Before we, kind of move on from the Stanley Cup final, because I definitely want to dissect a little more. What are your immediate thoughts on Game 6, and how do you think that one's going to play out?
I mean, my wallet hurts seeing how much it's going to cost just to get in the damn door to game six. I mean,
Right,
that is insane.
right. Like I think what was it, like 2,800 Canadian? They just get into section 200, and then when you're on the glass, it was like 8,000 or something like that.
Which is like 6,500 US, I think.
It's the last home game of the season, no matter
Jesus.
what.
Yeah.
True. True. I
Mac, what do you
think
think?
um I think the Cats get it. I do. I mean, here's the thing, like everyone keeps saying the Cats are really in trouble now, and now Oilers have all the momentum and all the pressures on Florida. And like to an extent that's true, but like they could still lose another game. And then also guess what? If they do, they get to go back home and play game seven at home. Like I
Yeah.
still am not worried for the Cats at this point. This is what happens when you get a 3-0 lead. You have so much wiggle room. You can fuck up a bunch and still win the Stanley Cup. Like that's so I mean, this would be this will go down in history as like the most ridiculous thing that's maybe ever happened in our sport if the Oilers come back and win this series in seven to hoist the cup. But I don't see it. I'm not worried yet. Um, Now if they blow the doors off the Cats in game six and it's another like 6-1 game or something like that, then I might be a little worried. But as of right now, the way that last game ended, I'm feeling okay. I think we always see teams win on the road, right? The cup. How many times has the cup been won on the
It's a lot.
road? It's almost a little bit less pressure. You go on the road, you put your head down, you get shit done. I don't know. The boys in the NHL, they like their road trips.
Yeah, you just
Maybe
put
not
your
maybe not
hard hat
that far,
on,
but
grab your thermos and your lunch pail, and you go to work. And we've heard so many guys say that, on so many of those cup winning teams on the road. Caps did it, Blues did it the year after them. I feel like I'm a little bit more worried if I'm Florida. Like I would put my panic index at about a 6 or 7 right now. I'm sweating, but I'm not freaking out yet. And mainly that's just because I know I got to go back to their barn. And if I don't get it done in their barn, then it's like shuffle up and let's play. Because here we go from there. I mean, like you said, it's going to be the most ridiculous thing to ever happen in NHL history because the last team to come back from 3-0 down in a cup final to win it was in the 40s.
yeah, with tungsten armored oil and
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Danny the torpedo Jones or whatever
Right.
the
The
fuck.
game took 8.5 hours with all the cigarette and tobacco breaks. So, like, but I
Make
don't, I don't know. I mean, if the Oilers can go back and get like two in the first period of game six, I think they got it. They just got to come out hot.
I need a straight prediction. I'm hearing from Mac, Florida, so I need you, don't teeter totter on me, Manila. I need a
Oilers win 5-4. McDavid gets the go ahead goal with 3:25 to go.
oh my goodness.
All right, we're getting specific. Fine. Matthew Kachuk has a hat trick. His third goal is the game winner in overtime. And we see hats fly on the. Well, actually, there won't be that many hats because it's in Edmonton, but maybe a couple hats get sprinkled on the ice and the cats go crazy and Lord Stanley comes out.
You won't see hats in Edmonton. You might see some other stuff. But I mean, that one Oilers fan, I mean, not the one you're thinking of, the other lady the other night. Did you see her just like completely celebrating the Panthers' first goal? Like
Oh
she's just
yes.
decked out in Oilers stuff.
That was crazy. Yeah, I did see that. Oh man, game six is a tough one, boys. I don't know. Like I picked Edmonton to win this series. I picked them in six. Here we are. They're going into game six. Obviously, they can't win it in six. But I'm kind of on Mac's side. I feel like the Panthers are going to get it done here. I feel like whenever you get these 3-0 leads and it starts getting into panic mode, I have no stat to back this up. This is just purely on vibes and observation. But I feel like the team who was up ends up closing it out in six for all the silly nonsense. Maybe I'm having some recency bias with the Rangers and the Hurricanes, but that's kind of what it feels like for me.
And that's the difference when you go down 3-0 versus if you were like in a 2-1 and then you go down 3-1. Like it's just so much harder to come back from 3-0 versus 3-1 or anything else because there's just too much room for the other team to put their foot down and say, okay, we're not fucking blowing a fourth game in a row or a third game in a row or whatever it is. And if you don't think Paul Maurice is going to have those boys in order, that man wants a fucking Stanley Cup. He's coached how many games at this point? I think they said the other day he's coached like the most amount of games in the league without winning the cup or something like that. But yeah, I'm feeling all right still.
And one of our other favorite things to talk about on the show is how difficult it is to beat a team 4 times in a 7-game series. It's also, in a way, difficult to lose to a team 3 times in a 7-game series. And, both of these coaches, I think, have proven to a point, Knobloch maybe a little bit more recently, that they're capable of making these adjustments on the fly. And let's not forget, flying back to Edmonton, they have 48 hours instead of 24 to turn this thing around. I think that's something that really can't be understated at this point in the season.
Yeah, Mac, to go back to your point, I not only does Paul Maurice have the most games coached without a cup, he has the 4th most wins all time in NHL history for a coach and still no cup. He's behind Scotty Bowman, Joel Quenneville, and Barry Trotz. All those guys have their cup. So yeah, this is a big one for Maurice. You obviously saw Bill Zito's reaction after Game 5. He wants the cup, very obviously. Chucking the water bottle at the wall. I saw that make its way around the internet a little bit. In terms of what I think for Game 6, I do think that Florida will end up getting it done. I just can't tell what kind of game we're going to get, boys. Like Game 5, I went all in. I posted my picks on Twitter. I thought Bob would have a day, and obviously that backfired. I would think that Game 6 is low scoring, but I've been wrong about that on the past 2 games. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's one of those things where there's just going to be so much energy in that building from the fans, from the crowd. Like that's going to be the best anthem maybe we see ever in the Stanley Cup final.
Probably.
Who knows? It could be another 30 years before a Canadian team is back in the Cup final again. I'm just kidding. But, I think for the Oilers, their thing is just like tone it down after that, bring yourself back down to earth and just go out and win the first 10 minutes and then win the next 10 minutes. And as long as they can keep themselves dialed, in control, and honestly aggressive like they have been shorthanded and on the counterattack in the first period and all these other games, I think they can absolutely do this. I'm a little bit more leaning towards the Oil in this one than I would say you guys are.